We are live. All right, everybody, welcome to the Service Pro and You 2025 Ambassador Program Overview. For those of you who may remember as you came to our Service Pro User Conference in 2023, we had launched the Ambassador Program, and we subsequently gave an award to one of our customers, WPI, and in 2024, we gave that award to Total Energy. And we wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about what the Ambassador Program is, because it is a fantastic program. Before I introduce my colleague, I want to give you a couple of things to remember. We, MSI, is only as good as our customers. And when you win, we win, and we all get to win. And last but not least, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Now, you may be like, Geoff, these are all these silly nursery rhymes. What are you talking about? I'm going to get into that in a couple of slides. So let me go into the introduction. Knox, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of you know me, most probably do, and are sick of listening to me, but you get me for another 20 to 25 minutes. So Andrew Knox, responsible for sales marketing and our partnership strategy here at MSI Data. And one of those aspects is the ambassador program. So excited to talk a little bit more about the program, what we've been doing, where it came from, and how you can get to be a part of it.
All right. All right. So yeah, let's kick into the agenda. All right. So we're gonna talk about what is the ambassador program. For some of you who are already ambassadors, have signed up, and maybe this is a refresher, but I really want to spend a few moments echoing the value and the opportunity for all of you to put money in your pocket. That is the bottom line. As I said earlier, we're only as good as our customers. And when you're going out and talking to some of your peers, whether it's in different programs or different workshops, or even at the quick trip having a cup of coffee and you bump into one of your colleagues who works at a competing company or some other similar like company that's in the service business, and you have an opportunity to talk up Service Pro and you can win. You can also win by way of references. So we have a lot of opportunities where prospects will say, hey, can I talk to someone like me, like in a geography or in the same vertical, or could be almost anything? And they say, I just want to talk to somebody who has gotten their hands dirty with Service Pro and has seen success. And so we may contact you and say, hey, we would love for you to be a reference. And in some cases, we have customers that invite prospects to come and see them and do ride-alongs. We also have some cool things we want to share for that's new this year, as well as how this gift just keeps coming. And, some will say it's the Jelly of the Month Club, because you do get to continue to win and earn money over and over. And the more you get in a calendar given year, the more rebates and referral dollars and reference dollars that you can earn. So that's what we're going to cover. Let's kick it off to the next slide. All right. So I mentioned a few of these things. So first is what we call the referral awards. So two ways to earn, right? One is based on the cumulative year one ARR. That is the subscription fee. So an example is, and I'll just use rough numbers because my colleague Knox is going to go through the details, but let's just say you're at the quick trip and you're talking it up while having some coffee with somebody in a pumps and compressor service space. And you say, hey, what are you using for your field service? And they say, oh, I'm using XYZ piece of garbage. Great, why don't you use Service Pro? Oh, tell me more. Well, come on over to the shop, let me show you. And then you tell us about it, and we actually go and successfully close that new customer based on your referral, and you get anywhere from, let's say, 10%. So imagine if the customer spends $50,000 with MSI in their first year of subscription software costs, you get $5,000. We will send you a check for $5,000. Better yet, the more you get in a given calendar year, that percentage only can increase, which is fantastic. Now, You may say, oh, we can't accept money. That's okay. We get it. However, there's alternative ways that we have helped our ambassadors receive the benefits of this program in lieu of getting just straight cash. So one of those is they say, oh, I'd like to donate it to my favorite company's charity. No problem. Oh, I'd like to buy lunch for the entire company for the next week. Okay, no problem. You tell us and we'll work with you. We are very, very flexible on it. The other way is references. So the difference is referrals. You're telling us a little bit about what goes on, right? And that you got a good lead and you've kind of helped us qualify a little bit. And then there's the others where we come to you and say, hey, they're really almost there, but they would love to talk to you. You know, Joe, Susie, Jim, Barb, whoever, they just want to talk to you and tell them about your experience with Service Pro. And a way to earn there is that call gets completed and we win that business, and we go ahead and send you also a fee for your time, which is extremely valuable. And again, you may say, I can't accept that money. That's okay. We'll find alternative ways. And so whenever we win, you win. And so when we think about some of the best opportunities that we get, it's from our existing customers going to associations and talking about, and you all need to take credit for that. And so that's where we have a program that's the ambassador program with registration and all kinds of details that can only benefit you. And like I said, the last point I'll say is you get a year long of these activities. So in a 12-month period, you can actually accumulate and get a higher payout rate. And also what you go out and talk about us to our prospects and also refer customers to us, you're absolutely invaluable to us. And we will go above and beyond to make sure that we start pulling you into customer advisory boards for feedback on product, and you start seeing little perks that you can only help us become better. So when I mentioned earlier the last nursery rhyme, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, this is about as best of an example as I can get. All right. Knox, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome.
Show them what real money does.
So I thought it would be helpful to walk through a couple of scorecards. So we started to try and formalize the ambassador program as well. So we've got about 7 or 8 entities, customers, organizations that are a part of it today. And every year we like to do a year in review scorecard, basically to show you all of the things that we've worked on together as it relates to the ambassador program. So this is just one slide that may be familiar. If we have, I think I saw a couple of current ambassadors register for the webinar. So this may look very familiar to you. Others, if you just want to walk through it, that's kind of the point of what I'll do here. I'll go through 2 different examples. This first one is showing a company that was helpful in providing 3 different referrals over the calendar year. Want to make sure that they understand where those referrals sit. Now, again, if you're referring business, you're probably talking to that other organization and getting updates directly from them and from either myself or the account executive working on the opportunity dynamically throughout it. But again, as a summary report, we want to make sure that we keep you abreast of where all these things are. So as you can see, under the number of referrals, there were 3 that were submitted. One's still open, right? So a generator company that was referred in. Again, bear with me on the examples, but a generator company that was referred in, they're still in the process of looking at Service Pro to make sure it's the right fit, right? And so we don't really get into the nitty-gritty of where they are in the process, though you can ask. But we do want you to understand that current status of that referral is open, hasn't been closed as a win and hasn't been closed as a loss. Now, as you can see, as we progress down there, there was a compressor company that was referred in. That was closed as a loss. We would probably give you in the moment dynamic details of when that happens, what occurred. But again, in order to give you a summary of where all sit, that one was closed as a loss. And then lastly, you can see that there was an industrial service company that was referred over. We won that opportunity because of your referral and obviously investment in the Service Pro platform. And you can see there that on the year, due to the number of referrals, us bringing one of those folks onto the Service Pro platform, this entity or this ambassador has earned $8,850 for closing that referral. And again, I'll get into the details of the economics in a couple of slides, but that is based on the first year recurring revenue, right? So you guys can do some of the math once I bring the next, two slides up, kind of how that was calculated. But again, we'll open up for Q&A later. This is just one aspect of the scorecard. Now, if we pivot over to the other side, this goes into references. Geoff talked about this, but again, during the sales process, again, as the person being responsible for the revenue of the company, we get asked pretty much 100% of the time during the sales process before somebody buys, they'd like to speak to one reference, sometimes two. Earlier this year, I had a customer on their fourth reference. Geoff almost lost it on me for going there, but again, it's what was necessary to get them to a point where they were comfortable. They had a few different scenarios they wanted to talk through. Probably could have handled it differently, but in this scenario, you can see that this ambassador had been a reference across 4 different unique prospect or opportunities that we were working on at MSI. You can see that of the 4, 1 was lost and 3 were won. There's a flat fee per reference call of $1,000. So by winning 3, they earned $3,000 for being a reference. And this can be tied to people wanting to talk to somebody on their same ERP or F&A system. It can be somebody within their same vertical or industry. Honestly, I've also gotten it where they want to talk to somebody who just went live or is under a year on the platform. And then also somebody that's been on the platform for several years. So the requests are very unique each time. And part of being an ambassador is you're willing to participate in being a reference. Again, there's probably scenarios that you can turn down. For example, we have had a few folks say, hey, I don't want to be a reference for a competitor. I totally get it. But more often than not, every time we reach out, our customers and ambassadors have been super helpful in being a reference. So thank you for that. And again, you can see that there's some economic incentive to do that. I'm going to pivot over to the next scorecard, which has a bit bigger dollar values because this one was a bit larger, right, in the type of customer or referral that they brought over to MSI. So similar structure, number of referrals, there were 3 here. 1 still open, 1 was closed as a loss, and then 1 was completed as a win, and now is going to be joining and onboarding into the Service Pro platform. This customer, as you can see, and you'll see how the math will work out, was fairly significant. Based on this win, this ambassador earned a little over $85,000. Now, again, just tied to 1 new logo that came in and joined the Service Pro organization. So based on that, their year 1 revenue would have been fairly substantial in order to earn that level of reward. Over on the other side of the screen, several more references. Now, there are a couple ambassadors, I will say, we leverage a lot. And sometimes it's based on their industry. Sometimes it's based on their ERP. But this is actually fairly common to be a reference 9 times out of the year. Again, if you think about the number of different discussions that our organization is having at any given moment, over a 12-month period, 9's actually not that much. And so if we would ask you to be a reference, this is probably more common if you're there for a full 12 months versus if you join in the last quarter, 3 is probably more appropriate based on the time. So you can see here that over the course of these 9 references, we were able to bring in 8 of 9, which is a crazy good close rate. So I'm super happy with that. But again, without these reference conversations, those results are probably not happening. So because of that, and dedicating anywhere from 30, 45 to 60 minutes of time, they've earned $8,000 just for taking a conversation to talk about their experience with Service Pro. MSI data employees are not on these reference calls. You are not asked to mislead prospects or talk us up where you shouldn't. It is fully unfiltered and candid feedback. We want them to know exactly what they want to understand prior to making a purchasing decision. But again, these last 2 slides are just kind of walking you through one of the pieces of the annual report card that our ambassadors get, and then also just how some of the economics work based on the two levers for being able to earn some rewards. Now I'm going to go over a little bit about what that percentage of those models look like. So a breakdown of the referral earnings. Geoff talked about this as cumulative over the year. So again, if you were referring a customer that was going to be spending anywhere from $80,000 to $150,000 in annual recurring revenue, you can see that you're going to move directly into that second tier of earnings, which is about 15 to 20% on that year one revenue. And so you can see, if you think back to the last example, they earned over $80,000. Okay, 15 to 20%, that's a pretty significant investment for the prospect to make. Must be fairly large and strategic opportunity for MSI data. And again, these are roughly real world scenarios based on the last 2 years that we wanted to play out and show you how this works. So as you refer more business, of course, the revenue and the year one recurring revenue grows. You start to move across these different tiers. So the first tier up to 79,000, the range is 10 to 15%. And then as you see, the more that the revenue grows, the higher the earnings or referral earnings go. I mentioned this already, reference earnings. It's a flat $1,000 for each contract if you're a reference during that. Now, again, some of our deals require 2 references. And so if you think about this, we are trying to make it an incentive and very valuable for our customers to participate in this, because we know it's time out of their business. It's a favor to me and us as an organization, all to ensure that we continue to bring more investment into the company so we can continue to innovate and support customers like you all. So with that, I'm going to go through a couple of what's new around the ambassador program. Now, current ambassadors may know some of these things already, but for those of you learning about this for the first time, that's why we wanted to make sure that we went through it. So a couple of things I want to hit on is the year-round advantages, right? You're kind of on an insider track, right? We don't really ask everyone and anyone to be an ambassador, right? There's strategic outreach and reasons why that we invite certain people into this program. And honestly, even to this webinar, it makes sense to look at the right types of people, organizations, how they're leveraging Service Pro, right? If you're leveraging Service Pro not the way that the application is intended to be used, asking you to be a reference probably doesn't make any sense for me. So it's probably not something I'm going to invite you to. But if you're leveraging the platform as it's intended around the full life cycle of a work order, it makes sense. So some of these advantages are gaining special access to different working groups or customer advisory board opportunities that Geoff, I know, touched on. Steve Barry coming in last year, one of the things that he's super passionate about is getting more feedback from our users to help us gain knowledge around where we should innovate. And that goes for both the back office and senior leadership executive personas and the engineers and technicians, the folks out in the field leveraging the mobile experience. Because we want to understand, right, what's important to each of these people. Of course, I always think that I'm right, and whatever I tell product is probably what they should work on, but I'm not, right? I like to think so, but I'm not. And so getting this feedback directly from the users is super important. And we want to go to people that are willing to make this a two-way relationship. Kind of Geoff would call it the push and pull, where you push us to do better, not always comfortable, and we pull you through to help us be better, right? And so that's where these advisory boards, these working groups, you'll see some things within this year's user conference agenda that's going to be focused around stuff like this, maybe even something, hint, hint, for ambassadors only as well. And so there's a lot of things that we're working on, but there's different advantages across the year that we like to make available. And we'll start with certain groups, ambassadors being one, right? And then we'll bring others along. So you get early product previews. If you're a part of an advisory board, you're helping set the direction for future innovation. And a part of that is alpha and beta testing before that phase 1 or MVP product hits the market. So you get to help shape the direction of a new feature or a new product or a new enhancement by participating in this program. Again, if you're investing more time and energy into this relationship, we want to reciprocate that with things that we can control, such as these early product previews and access, right? We talked about the attractive rewards. Again, if we think about other ways that would be beneficial to your organization to participate, we're all ears. We're willing to make this a working model. Like Geoff said, it doesn't have to just be sent as a check. We could do it via lunches. We could do it via rewards. We could do it via charity donations. There's a lot of paths to being able to be rewarded from an incentive perspective for participating in this. We do have a few ambassadors and customers that are really good to us that just simply can't accept money. They won't even let me take them to lunch, right? They end up buying me lunch, which is almost always awkward for the VP of sales when they're with a prospect or a customer to end up not paying. But it happens, and it's just a corporate policy. So we have to be able to bend and flex to those. And we had to do the same with the ambassador program. Lastly, for those that have been at our annual conference, either in 2023 or in 2024, we did have an Ambassador of the Year award program, right? And so we're able to recognize and celebrate with the ambassadors that have helped us over that fiscal year and announce that in September at our annual conference. So, always a fun to recognize people that are willing to put forth a little bit extra energy and effort into the relationship, help us, again, continue to innovate and grow and bring on new customers to the platform. And so with that, I believe that Elise is going to help us open up the chat for any Q&A, but this is what we had planned. We wanted to make sure that we gave you a high-level overview of this program. It's about 2 years in the makings. We've done some tweaks. We've invested some serious time and energy in it, and we know you all have that are a part of it have too. So you can see a couple of our ugly mugs here on the screen, mine especially, not Geoff's, I promise. But with that, let us know what questions you have. I'll check the chat here. Geoff, I don't know if you see anything in the chat. But I'll pause. Did I miss anything you wanted to cover, Geoff?
No, I think you did a fantastic job. We are very, very excited about this. It is something that is very, very, very simple and very, very rewarding. And in one case, we had a customer say, this is great just for spreading the gospel of Service Pro. I'm able to buy a new truck. So it's that kind of stuff that works for everybody, and it just keeps that wheel of fortune going around and around. And like I said, and Knox had reiterated, it doesn't always have to necessarily be in just pure cash rebates. It could be in donations or something else that's more important to you all. But what's really important to us is having our customers go out and preach about Service Pro to their colleagues and their associates and their peers and business parks and wherever the case may be, because that's how we get better.
Yeah. So I'll check the chat here. Okay, I got one sent to me, a couple sent to me. How do I sign up? So I could probably take that one.
Yeah.
So sign up is fairly simple, and you just reach out to me, right? Reach out to your customer success manager, your account manager, say that you're interested in signing up or even learning more. And I'm happy to have one-on-one conversations around it, but just reach out. There's an agreement that we have you sign, so we make sure that you understand all of the different aspects of it. There's really no strings attached to it, right? No commitments that you're making, other than you're joining it and then being willing to participate in some of the things that we've just discussed, such as being willing to be a reference when and if it makes sense, right? If you have different folks within user groups or associations or best practices groups, right, to talk about Service Pro when and if it's appropriate. So yeah, sign up's easy. You just reach out to any of the folks that you're normally communicating with at MSI Data, or again, always feel free to reach directly out to me, and I can get you set up and start that.
Knox, I just got one via email. How quickly do they get paid or earn the rebate, the reward?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the model right now is, so say you're a reference on an opportunity. We ended up winning the opportunity and the customer closes. Once the customer pays that first invoice, we'll pay on the following month. So if the customer pays within net 30 terms, which is fairly standard, you can anticipate about 60 days after signature to get that payment. It's all contingent on when that end client or prospect pays their first invoice, and then it's paid on the following month that it would be sent out. Yep.
Got it.
All right. Last question I have. Let me read it to make sure I. Oh, do you have any collateral on this that I can share internally with my team? Yeah. So again, if there's, questions that you want to go through and talk about with other folks within your organization prior to signing up, we do have some collateral, some one pagers and information on it. Honestly, I'd be happy to have you even talk to other ambassadors if you think that might be helpful as well on what their experience has been since they joined the program. So yeah, we do have some collateral. Just reach out to, again, your customer success manager or John Elliott or myself, and we'll be happy to get you some of that so that you can have a conversation internally. But just let us know.
Got another one, Knox. I know we're coming in under time. Is there any cap?
Man, as the kids say, no cap. I don't know. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. But no, there's no cap on earnings references that will be asked, and yeah, payouts right on incentives. So I would say sky's the limit, as I like to tell my team, uncapped. So nope, there's no cap. But again, for folks on the QR code on the screen, if you want to learn more, feel free to pop your phone up, take a pick at that, and then follow the link through to learn a little bit more here dynamically. I don't have any other questions that have been chatted over to me. I won't check my email, so I don't know if there's any there, but I think I've covered everything. Anything else, Geoff, before maybe we close and let people go?
No, I'll just say again what we started with. We're as good as our customers, and when you are happy and you want to see more product enhancements and more investment by us, one way to really help us do that is go out and tell some of your peers to sign up for Service Pro, and you can win as well. So appreciate everyone's time. And thank you for listening. And we hope to add a few more ambassadors because they're the best customers.
All right. Yep. Thanks, everyone.